Liberal media loves to take highlighted incidents and broadcast them as major news and frame them as everyday occurrences. Take January 6th. The way they talk about it, you'd think a nuke went off in America. Or the isolated incidents with George Floyd that they used to defund police stations across America. Specific instances they push into the hearts and minds of America to manufacture political discussions. The thing we all know by now is that they pick and choose what to cover, like when Ma'Khia Bryant was shot by a police officer for attempting to stab another African-American juvenile. News stations and celebrities framed her death as a targeted act, a racist murder. However, when Iryna Zarutska was murdered, crickets from many news outlets. I saw this floating around online, where the situation was reversed. What if a black woman on a train with white people was killed by a white man in the same fashion that Iryna was? We all know exactly what would have happened. America would burn. Riots, looting, chaos, murders. But why is this any different? I've even seen radical leftist statements floating around on X that falsely accused Iryna of racism, because why else would a black man be violent? We don't have any record of that going on in America, right? Well, further details have emerged. DeCarlos Brown Jr. was quite mentally ill. According to a phone call he placed in a jail, he stated that the government was using Iryna to read his mind. DeCarlos Brown was a paranoid schizophrenic, and based on his mental illness-induced delusions, Iryna lost her life. This case is extremely tragic. In the left's case, I don't even want them to do a lot other than to acknowledge that. Iryna left a war-torn country only to be murdered on a train after getting off of her shift at work. And it annoys me to such a degree that posts emerged excusing the murder or framing Iryna as a racist. She wasn't. A picture even surfaced of her with a Black Lives Matter sticker prominently featured in the background. Let's stop victim blaming. Let's acknowledge her death for what it was, an inexcusable act of violence. I'd even go as far as to say that we should leave race out of this discussion. Yes, the attacker was African American and the victim was white, but his attack wasn't racially motivated, although he did say, "I got that white girl," after stabbing her. His victim could have been anyone. His mental illness just happened to single Iryna out that day. But there are other issues we should discuss in this case. DeCarlos Brown Jr. was a documented career criminal. In 2014, he was sentenced to prison for armed robbery with a dangerous weapon. And just months after his release in 2020, he was arrested again for assaulting his sister. Reports are conflicting, but DeCarlos Brown Jr. spent the next several years assaulting various family members and making delusional claims. In 2024, he was arrested for misuse of 911, and it was at this time that some unusual claims surfaced. He believed that aliens were controlling him and that perhaps there was some sort of man-made material implanted inside of him. Now, while I do have compassion for people who are violently mentally ill, I also don't think we should endanger others by letting them victimize people. DeCarlos Brown Jr. had a long and documented history of violence and mental illness, and shouldn't have been in a position to hurt someone. DeCarlos Brown Jr. should have been institutionalized in an asylum. For a long time in America, there's been a concentrated effort by many to shut down institutions, such as asylums, for the insane or mentally ill. Other countries have also been emptying out their asylums and sending them across the southern border of the United States so that we deal with them instead. As a result, more than 1 million extremely mentally ill people are wandering the streets of America or are incarcerated in our prison system. I believe they should be institutionalized. Again, you could argue that this would be unfair and a violation of their civil rights, but I guess I would pose this question. 1 out of 300 people are mentally ill to this degree. Should we let them wander the streets, as DeCarlos Brown Jr. did, and put the rest of the American public in danger? Or should we say that 299 law-abiding peaceful citizens shouldn't live in fear because we refuse to appropriately address the situation? Imprison or institutionalize one person, or imprison the entire American public to the whims of a schizophrenic madman? Maybe I sound radical, and I understand the dark history of insane asylums. The One That Flew the Cuckoo's Nest is a great book detailing this period, but let's quit letting judges get away with this stuff. Let's quit buying into the lie that we should let violently mentally ill people pose a risk to the rest of America. That's it for this video, but I am going to be starting a true crime series on political violence. If you enjoyed this video or would like to see more conservative political commentary, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon to stay tuned.